Hello, everyone. Welcome along to show 2 of the All Angle Sports Investing Weekly Preview Show. I'm Kev. I'm joined as always by Steve Wiss and Ash Waite. Guys, how are you? Hope you both had a good week. I'll start with you, Ash, because Steve was on mute at the time when he was talking. Sure, you both had a good week. We promised plenty of winners on this show, and we delivered last week. Ash, you had that brilliant pick in Singapore. Loved that Singapore league. All over that this season. Absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. It had my mind fully in it because the Women's World Cup final, well, as an Englishman, we can't really talk too much about that. Absolutely. And Steve, goal scorer picks came good as well. And I just chipped in with a nice clean sweep on the first show of the season. So
you did well. I've got to say, it was a good debut from the host. I mean, I said you were like a Swiss Army knife, didn't I, last week, where you're not just a host. Well, on this show, the host also picks winners. And there was a good one that Joe Taylor, 3-1.
Yeah, very, very good. 10 minutes is all that took us. That's how we like our anytime scorers. Don't worry about the 90. Get it done.
Yeah, there was some. It was a good show. It went well, and let's hope we can get some more decent winners for all you watching this week.
Yep. The only problem with going 3-0 in the opening show, I feel a bit like Brighton. There's only one way from here, and it certainly isn't up. But I will do my best as we go through this show. Plenty of bets coming your way on this show. Can't promise they're as far and wide as Singapore this week, but as long as they win, we don't really care where they come from. And let's start off with what we think will be our first winner of the week. And I'll come to you, Ash. And you've got a nice little juicy double for us between an Arsenal side that won last week, 1-0 at Palace, and Juventus, who opened up the Serie A season with a 3-0 win at Udinese. Hit us with that first bet.
Right. So this is going to be a double. Just taking Arsenal to score twice. As a single, I don't think that taking Arsenal to score over 2.5 team total is a bad shout either. So if someone, you just kind of like played a little bit safer and play singles, I think that's worth a decent look. They're at home against a weak side. So I'm kind of expecting, their players to kind of try to make a statement here. And Juventus money line, Juventus as a team, this is in Italy Serie A for you guys listening. I typically, kind of steer clear of them. They're like Roma. They either play really well or just not at all. But sort of recency bias, but also the situation. And I think those players, when I watched them in the last match, seem really, I don't know if it's everything they've gone through together, but like a really cohesive unit. Celebrating, each other's goals, and just I was impressed with them. So going to take them to win. I think they'll score a couple. I don't know, taking Juventus to score more than once is scary sometimes, but I do think they win the match. So yeah, Arsenal to score twice and Juventus to win. I think that almost even money. It's really good odds there.
Yep. That's a good one to get us going. That's Arsenal against Fulham, of course. Juventus at home to Bologna. Juventus undoubtedly helped by Weston McKennie not making the starting lineup these days. And
he came off the bench last week. I couldn't believe Weston McKennie. I'm amazed they took him back. But when you 3-0 up, I think you can throw anyone on, right? So safe as houses.
Sympathy vote, that one, wasn't it? And of course, Fulham, they're an absolute basket case with an awful lot of problems, which probably aren't going to get solved at the Emirates Stadium this weekend. At least we don't think so anyway. Let's move on to bet 2, and we'll come to you, Steve. One of your strong points, the top flight in Norway. And you have one bet for us in the match between Sarpsborg and Tromsø, 7th against 3rd in this one. Both winners last week, but as you can see on the caption, it's goals that Steve's going with.
Yeah, I did a Norway over 3 goals pick on the show last week, didn't I? I think it was Obos Ligue, and we got a push on that one. 2-1 it ended. And, I'm amazed by this goal line because the last 14 Sarpsborg games have all contained at least 3 goals. So you would not have lost this bet if you took it in their last 14 fixtures. Bear that in mind. Of course, all streaks have to come to an end at some point, don't they? But until that happens, then you're probably best to keep riding that particular bicycle. But it's actually quite an important game. at the top of the league. There's only 4 matches on in the Norwegian top flight this weekend. There's been 4 postponements because of teams involved in Europe. If Tromsø win, then they move to within 2 points of the top of the table. So there's a lot of pressure on them to get that result. And it's amazing. Sarpsborg are actually odds on to win the match, which I think is a little bit disrespectful to Tromsø, actually. But you never know with this Sarpsborg team. The results can be all over the place. They win well and they lose badly. But there's one thing, the theme is always goals, because they just play frantic football end to end, gung ho. They're one of those, the saying, when they're good, they're really, really good. And when they're bad, they're awful. So let's see what version of them shows up. Tromsø are always, I think there's always been the case for years that there's value on Tromsø overs because they just have this reputation of being a defensive team. But they do get involved in higher scoring matches than you think. So, yeah, an over 3 goal line at plus 114. For those who are more conservative, I think Ash would be all over 2.75 goal line here at minus 114. In fact, that was the line I actually tipped on the premium channel. But we want a bit of extra value on this show, don't we? So we'll go plus 114 at juicy price for over 3 Asian goals in Sarpsborg against Tromsø.
Yeah, we've got some juicy prices coming your way on this show, and this one certainly looks like a good one. Often when you get 2 perfect dance partners like these two, that does lead to goals. We saw it with the Stuttgart-Bochum game last week. Hopefully we're going to see that with this Norwegian game. Okay, peeps, the reason why we're coming to you on a Thursday night this week rather than a Friday, which will be a regular thing, is because the host is going to be at the Friday night Premier League game, and unfortunately I can't host from there. So let's turn our attention to that game. As you can see on the caption going across the bottom of the screen, it is Chelsea against my beloved Luton Town. I am going to be at Stamford Bridge. I am looking forward to it. I will get the thoughts of both of you guys on the game before I give my opinion, because my best bet of the week does come in this game. Ash, Chelsea looked a bit of a mess last week. Is that going to give me confidence for tomorrow night?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to preface anything I say after this with this. I'm not going to personally be betting this match because it's one of those scenarios where I would rather just pull for your team, right? That, like, if you guys could pull off any kind of result here, would be worth more than any amount of money I could make on the bet. So, yeah, I'm going to be a bystander and pull for you guys. But, yeah, I mean, I think Chelsea... obviously it's Luton coming up against the big boys, but I think if Luton can keep it kind of chippy, right, I think they'll probably play a really, really, but maybe 5 at the back, or just focus on defense. And I think if they can frustrate Chelsea, I think that, this could be lower scoring than most people think. But yeah, it's just such a gulf in the players and the payroll. So I really don't know what to make of it. All I know is I'm pulling for you guys to pull a huge upset, draw, or an outright win would be amazing.
Yes, Steve, Chelsea have just recently signed a player that cost them more than Luton's transfer fees in its entire history. That is exactly what we're coming up against on Friday night. That is, of course, Moises case. I can't even get his name out. Caicedo, who for 115 million quid, all Chelsea got on their return initially was a penalty given away. So I'm hoping that that's a trend that continues tomorrow night. I saw Rob Edwards, Luton Town manager. He's kind of quietly confident that he thinks his team are getting Chelsea at the right time, given that they've still got to gel all of these massive transfer signings. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, you're going to be there, aren't you, at Stamford Bridge tomorrow evening? I heard you're going to do some exclusive content for All Angle Sports Investing from the stands. But 12-1 Luton Town to win this game. You're not the biggest price of the week in the Premier League, though. Sheffield United are even bigger against Man City, who are without Pep, of course. But this is an intriguing match, isn't it? I actually think Liverpool have done up Chelsea like a kipper with that Caicedo transfer. I don't think Liverpool had any intention of getting him. I think they've forced Chelsea to fork out 20 million more than what they wanted to do, because he was never going to go to Anfield. He's a good player, but he's not worth 110 million or whatever it is. So, they are kind of already underachieving with their metrics, Chelsea, just like last season. It seems an ongoing theme of whoever's in charge of them. would you be backing Chelsea at minus 400? They're going to be a popular bet because everyone's going to be looking at a banker for Friday night and thinking they're the obvious pick. Just put them on the money line, add them to accumulators. Chelsea probably should win the game, but will they win the game? I've got a bet builder for this in a minute. I'll do it after you've done your pick for the match, Kev. But I don't think it's a sort of match you want to be staking too heavily on. And I certainly wouldn't be trusting Chelsea on stuff like -2 Asian handicaps. But you've got a pick for the game, and it's your main pick last week came in the Bochum Stuttgart game. You backed the overs in that one, and you're going the same way here.
Yeah, I take on board what Ash said just a moment ago, but I think Luton are going to go to Stamford Bridge and they're going to try and take the game to Chelsea. I know Rob Edwards was at the London Stadium on Sunday and he saw West Ham kind of soak up pressure and hit Chelsea on the counter-attack. I don't see Luton doing it that way. I see Luton trying to play through the midfield, get the ball into their two strikers, whereas West Ham only had one, and go at that Chelsea defence, which looked an absolute rabble on Sunday. There's no other word for it. They've got some fella called Dizazi in the back three. He should be called Disaster from what I saw on Sunday. He looked absolutely terrible. Even Thiago Silva, usually the most composed and confident, comfortable person in the world, even he looked a bit rattled on Sunday. Luton have got a physical threat, much in the same case as Mikel Antonio for West Ham in Carlton Morris, who's already scored this season at Brighton. And I really do think Luton's front two are going to have some joy against this Chelsea defence. On the flip side of that, we saw Brighton run Luton absolutely ragged a couple of weeks ago. Luton will improve for that run. There's no doubt about that. Their defence will be a little bit more cohesive here. There's a chance Reece Burke could come into the side. He's a very, very good, steady defender with very good on the ball, very good in the air. He could well score at the other end like he did in the FA Cup game that these two played just over 18 months ago at Kenilworth Road. That ended 3-2. And I can kind of see a similar scoreline here, Steve. I think Luton are right in this game after 60, 65, 70 minutes. The problem Luton are going to have in this game and in many games this season, at 70 minutes, you've still got probably another 30, 35 minutes to go with these new rules the way they are. And Chelsea are bringing £100 million player after £100 million player off the bench. Luton are bringing free transfer after free transfer off the bench. The kind of golf, that's where it's really going to count. So I think Luton are going to be in this game after an hour, maybe 1-1, hopefully from my point of view, even sneaking a lead. But the longer it goes on, they could get tired. And with the class that Chelsea are going to bring off the bench, I think Chelsea will dominate the latter stages. I hope Luton can hang on for something like a 2-2 draw. But that cup game ended 3-2 when Luton ran out of legs in the last 15 minutes. And I kind of see something similar at Stamford Bridge on Friday night. I really hope I'm wrong in terms of the result, obviously, but I do think whoever wins, loses or draws, there'll be more than 3 goals in this game.
Yeah, over 3 Asian goals at -110 is your play for that one. And it's interesting what you say there. Do you think maybe sort of the last 30 minutes, if you're betting and running in Luton games this season, you want to be looking at the goals on the overs? Because, you guys might be running out of steam against the bigger teams that are bringing on high-class players. I mean, you were in the game, to be fair, against Brighton. It was 2-1, with 25 minutes left, 30 minutes left, and then there were a couple of more late goals at the other end.
2-1 with 5 minutes to go. And then, of course, the board goes up for 8 minutes. They bring Ferguson on, arguably their best striker, the winger who scored the third goal. And then a couple of other... And Ciso came on as well. I mean, he absolutely ripped Wolves a new one at the weekend. That's what we're up against. It's not just the first 11, it's the 5 that come off the subs bench. Whereas if you look at the Luton subs on that game, Luke Berry came with Luton from the League 2 days. And there were a couple of other players that were free transfers who also came on the pitch, Jacob Brown being the most recent one of them. It's Harrods against Poundland in terms of, in terms of finances. And
what's the equivalent of a Poundland shop in the US, Ash? What do you have, like everything a dollar store? Something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I avoid dollar stores. I don't even like driving by them, and I don't know how to.
You're a bit classier, aren't you?
No, it's not that. It's just something about I literally don't even like driving past them, and I don't know how to convert any U.S. dollars to anything else. Yeah, I'm just another stupid American when it comes to that. But I have a question for you, Kev. So you think your boys contribute here, right, to this total?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty confident that we'll score a goal. Certainly, if that Chelsea defence that played on Sunday plays tomorrow night, I'm really confident that we score a goal. Yeah, I think our front two are going to have so much joy against them.
Okay, then I'll tell you what my bet's going to be, and not for this show, but personally, so I can bet this and still have fun and pull for you guys. I'm just going to take Luton to score at plus 105.
I did look at that. Yeah, I think that's not a bad bet, actually. Just Luton to score a goal is to be plus money is pretty mad against this defence. I must say, I've got a bet builder for this game. I'm going to put it up on screen now. It's a 4-legger. If I can actually find the bloody thing. Hold on.
I mean, especially like Kev, you're saying if you think Luton come out and don't just try to absorb pressure and they try to take it to them at plus money for them just to get on the board, I don't think that's a bad look.
So I'm going to explain this one.
I agree.
I'm going to explain this one. The bet builder. We've got so we've got 3 players to have over 1.5 shots. This is again Opta data will decide this. Carlton Morris for Luton, Nicholas Jackson for Chelsea, Conor Gallagher for Chelsea. Gallagher should play in a more advanced role in this game because of the injury to the guy who I'm not even going to try and pronounce, who got injured last week. Was it Chukwuemeka or whatever he's called? Anyway, so Gallagher's going to be in that more forward role, and he does like a shot or two. Watch out for him for a yellow card as well. You'll get stuck in more for this game, Gallagher. Nicky Jackson is the big money signing up front for Chelsea. I'll be honest, from what I've seen of him, he doesn't look that good. But I know he was scoring goals for Villarreal last season, so we've got to give him a chance. He'll be desperate to score, won't he? So over 1.5 shots, he's going to chance his luck. And I really love Carlton Morris. I think he's a fantastic player for you guys. He's a really good number 9 striker. He actually managed 4 shots against Brighton, and you didn't have much of that game really. So for him to land 4 shots, and I think 2 were on target. I think any chances that Luton get will be from set pieces or fall to Morris. So he's the one. And the other part of this bet builder at plus 375 is over 17.5 Chelsea shots. Well, Brighton had 27 shots against Luton. Chelsea had 17 shots last week against West Ham. I know what Chelsea are like. They're going to be shooting wildly, stupidly in some cases where they're not even going to threaten the goal. There's too many players who are a bit ego. They think of their egos too much at Chelsea. They're not a proper team in that way. So I think they'll bombard you with quite a few shots, Kev. I don't think that many will necessarily be on target. But plus 375, I quite like those. I think all those players are going to play at least 65, 70 minutes as well. So at plus 375, I was annoyed last week that my bet builder on this show was let down by Richarlison. He didn't fire a single bloody shot. But this time, hopefully those 3 players don't let me down.
Yeah, you're certainly on something with Morris. Absolutely. All of Luton's play will go through him. And he's on penalties as well, as we saw against Brighton. Yep, wish you well with that one. Hopefully, like you say, all those Chelsea shots fly nowhere near the goal, or indeed me in that away end, because my reactions aren't the best these days. That could be said. Let's move on from that game. Hopefully, Luton get something from that game. And we'll go on to the team that Luton have already played this season, and that's Brighton and Hove Albion, who I have to admit, they absolutely dazzled me with their football at the Amex Stadium a couple of weeks ago. They host West Ham in the sort of primetime game in the UK on Saturday evening. And, well, let's get everyone's thoughts first, because Ash has got a bet on this game, but we'll get our thoughts on this one. I'll come to you in a second then, Ash, as you've got the bet. Steve, West Ham obviously going into the game in perfect confidence after that win over Chelsea. Brighton couldn't be in any better form. 4-1 win over Luton, 4-1 win against Wolves. I mean, this side, they were good last season. I think they've kicked on again, even though they've lost McAllister and they've lost Caicedo. Logic should tell you they've weakened, but trust me, they haven't. They look a real good side to me.
They're a hell of a side, aren't they? I was talking off air with my colleague on the Nordic Football Podcast, Jonathan Verdugber, yesterday, and he knows his football pretty well. He's not a sensationalist. And he said, Steve, what are the odds for Brighton to win the Premier League? I was like, what the hell are you on about? And he's like, they're an effing good side. I was like, 50-1 if you fancy it. I mean, is that too far-fetched? I think it probably is, because the squad probably doesn't last the season, but they're an incredibly well-run club. They're an incredibly well-managed team, and they've got players who are absolutely playing out the skin. The coach is getting the absolute maximum out of it. They upgraded by Potter leaving to Chelsea. Incredibly. De Zerbi is remarkable talent. And I think they'll beat West Ham. I just don't think West Ham have not been too bad, in fairness, to start the season. Better than I thought. But Brighton are minus 200 on the nose, which is probably fair. We have to consider Brighton as a legit top 6 side now. Knocking on the door even the Champions League positions. So, I think I said to Ashley about a month ago when we were doing the pre-season picks, bet on the Brighton overs blind every week and you won't go far wrong because they're so attack-minded. But I think Brighton should realistically win the match quite easily. I don't know about what do you think, Kev? Home win for you?
Yeah, home win for me, yeah. Like I say, I haven't seen them. They are so good to watch. The footwork that they've got, the speed that they play with, it's just... I've only seen one Premier League game live. So maybe, I'm kind of using the wrong sort of process to look at it. But I can't believe there's many teams that play with the speed, the power, the pace and the energy that they do. And if they do, then Luton, hell, we're in trouble this season. But I don't think that is the case. You mentioned that they've upgraded on Potter going to Chelsea. They've upgraded at left-back as well. Because Purvis Estupiñán is, for me, the best left-back in this league. And he replaced Cucurella, didn't he? Who... he looks like Sergio Bob, and at Chelsea he's played like Sergio Bob, hasn't he? That is a massive upgrade. And Matoma down that left-hand side. If you look at that West Ham right-hand side, Jared Bowen does not track back one little bit. And it's Kufal, isn't it, who plays at right-back. There's your mismatch. I think Brighton feast on that all day long. And I suspect you do too, Ash, because you're expecting goals in this one.
I am. And exactly what you guys were saying. So both teams to score and over 2.5 is actually not my play in this one. Although I do like that.
What was the play? I got mixed the graphics up wrong. What's the play?
Yeah, so I think the odds are right. Let me pull this up. Yeah, the odds are correct. So what I'm taking here is Brighton draw double chance, but both teams to score. And getting at that at minus 110, I do think that I'll probably split a unit. I'm probably going to take it at a big fat plus 185, Brighton to win and both teams to score. But I like this at minus 110. I think that's fair odds. I think Brighton win. So here, right, if they draw, we still get paid out. But I do think that West Ham score on them. I think West Ham's a feisty little team, and I think they have a lot more talent. I don't really hear a lot about their individual players talked about that much, but when West Ham steps on the field, even in these different European competitions, I expect them to score. So Brighton playing so open, I think they do win. But nonetheless, in case of an odd like 2-2 or something like that, we get paid out here in the case of a draw. And you guys know I love draw protection. But I think there's a ton of value on Brighton to win and both teams to score with the way they play on the front foot and with West Ham's attacking talent. I think that Brighton, pushing forward so much, they leave themselves vulnerable at the back. And you combine that with West Ham having talent and coming into this one, like you said, with some confidence after playing a really good game. So I think both teams contribute, and we just need Brighton to avoid defeat here.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's quite. I see what you've done here. You've covered for the 1-1 draw, which is always the danger score, isn't it? If you're backing an over 2.5 or 2.75 goal line is here, that's always the danger result. And you had a good week. You were wondered with this pick in midweek, this same type of bet, didn't you, on PSV? I do believe on the premium service.
Yeah, so, some team. Who knows?
You like this sort of bet.
Yes, I do. I love draw protection in anytime I can get it. And especially draw no bets are great, but I love double chance. So if it's a draw, you don't just get your money back, you still get paid out. So yeah, I don't think Brighton lose, but I also don't think they keep a clean sheet. So at minus 110, yeah, I'm going to be all over that.
Yeah, just to add to the both teams to score part of that bet, Brighton looked a real mess at set pieces against Luton, and West Ham scored their opening goal against Chelsea from a set piece and have arguably the best set piece taker in the Premier League, swinging balls over in James Ward-Prowse. So there's an area that I'm sure West Ham will look at in that game. Yeah, really like that one. And you're absolutely right. If you can get as much saviour in terms of the bets and things just to be on your side, so much better. It's all about collecting the profit, not looking good in terms of the bets that you're taking. It's literally having as much on your side as possible, and Ashley definitely does have that in that regard. Okay, we'll go back to Steve for our next bet. We've done his Norway pick. Just the other side of the border, we go to Sweden. Again, the top flight in Sweden. And you've got a pick between Värnamo and Halmstad.
Yes, there might be a little bonus pick after this as well, because I am very, very concerned about Halmstad. Every league around the world, you get to a certain stage in the season where you can just sense, you can see a team start to free fall, and you look at that team and you're wondering not just where their next win's coming from, where the hell is their next point coming from. And Halmstad definitely fall into that category. If you look at metrics and things, they're the worst team in the league, but they're in 11th place. Especially expected goals against, they're an absolute shambles. They've lost their last 4 games consecutively, conceded a lot of goals. And I suspect this, without knowing, I suspect there's something behind the scenes isn't quite right, because we had a situation where they lost against Malmo a few weeks ago, and the goalkeeper, sorry, not Malmo, they did lose against Malmo as well. They lost 5-0 at home to the bottom side Varberg. Varberg are terrible. And after that game, the goalkeeper retired. He cited mental health problems. Now, I think that sort of thing gets the dressing room, you know? Like, that would be a blow. I think it was a bit of a shock. And since then, they've just been free-falling. They've just looked awful on the field whenever they've played. And I'm going to be betting against them until this ends. And Värnamo, decent side, bit inconsistent, but up and down. But they did the job last week. They beat Varberg 3-0. They're on the same amount of points, these teams. I'm amazed they're actually slightly plus money to win this match, because Halmstad Halmstad are going to finish in the bottom 4 for me. It's just a question of how low that they do finish. And I'm actually just going to add this as a little bit of a nibble of a bet as well. Halmstad relegation. You can get this at Bet365 in the UK. Search around your books as a future bet. And the good thing about this future bet, you've only got to wait 10 rounds. It's not like the whole season. If they lose the next 2 games, which is possible, then that plus 550 is going to look massive, because this includes, by the way, if they lost the playoff game as well. The third bottom's in the playoff, but they look awful, Halmstad. I'm very happy to be betting against them this weekend, and hopefully they can keep losing and they can continue to be a cash cow betting against them each week.
Absolutely love the thought of the goalkeeper just walking into the dressing room saying, "Sorry, I've had enough playing behind you wasters. I'm out of here. We're done. It's all over. Thanks a bunch." I'm sure it wasn't quite like that, but it doesn't sound good for Halmstad. And it looks like Steve's picked up an ideal opportunity to take them on, as I suspect he will be for a while to come. We've got one proper pick left on this show, and then we'll get some goal scoring picks, which we did very, very well with last week. And we're going back to Ashley.
I am going to allude and interrupt for 1 second, though. Leave it to Steve. Like, we have just knowledge and so, like, we're just so different in the things that we know in this sport. Leave it to him to know that some goalie's having mental health issues and needing to see a therapist, like in the Swedish leagues. I don't know. I think that should count as a win for something in and of itself.
Well, I'll tell you how I knew. That goalkeeper was actually in my Swedish fantasy team.
Well, that makes sense.
I have a terrible any goalkeeper.
No wonder
in my
he's retired then.
Hey, that's why, isn't it? It's like, I think the story. He actually came off in the middle of that game. It wasn't at the end of it. He came off, and no one knew what was going on. Initially, it was cited as an injury, and then I think there was some big story about a mental health. I mean, we wish him well. We obviously wish him well. He's, but when that happens, I think there's got to be some underlying issues at the club as well. We don't know what's going on there. And after that, it's hit the squad really hard, and they need a result. And until it comes, I think I was kicking myself for not betting against them at the weekend. They lost against Bromma Poikina. Problem was Bromma Poikina had hardly had a win in recent times either, so you couldn't trust them. And they lost that 3-1, and that was like, now I'm just against them every week. So come on, Värnamo.
Yeah, and in defense of that keeper, whatever his name is, I mean, that's definitely some shit that I would do. If my teammates weren't helping me out with my temper, and I'm just getting pummeled, I'd walk straight off that pitch and tell all of my players to kiss my fucking ass, and I'd go find a different job. Yeah, I can't. I can feel for him. Not even playing the sport, just capping it makes me need to speak to my therapist at least twice a week. So yeah, hope he does well and totally understand that the predicament that guy's in.
Yeah, I'd be going up to the centre forward, actually tapping him on the shoulder and say, "Oi, you go back in goal. I'll do your job, and
right.
We'll get this show back on the road." And yeah, I mean, this is what we bring you on this psychiatrist reports, the works. You can,
or I would just go slap like all my players in the side of their skull with my famous bag of dicks. You know, they just all be getting slapped with a bag of dicks.
There's many a team that we all probably want to do that to over the course of a week. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to bring you every single week. Brilliant info, inside info like that, and hopefully Steve uses that to good effect there with Varnamo. As I said, one bet left, and that comes via Ashley, and we're back to Serie A, and we're with Napoli, and we're with their main man as well. Ashley, hit me with that bet.
So you guys see my Italia ball there. So we're coming to my favorite league in Italy, Serie A. This is going to be a combo bet. So Sassuolo, everyone knows I absolutely love Sassuolo, so it's tough for me to go against them. But this is using my head and not my heart. And the fact of Sassuolo, I think, could actually put up a little bit of a fight, but not with Berardi out. So with Domenico Berardi being out, you know, he is pretty much their main guy, fantastic player. And they, you know, they might could score, you know, give them a little trouble with him, but without him, you know, I think they'll still play their hearts out, which is why I love them, because I always do. But Napoli being a minus 300 favorite here, you know, I just never lay crazy numbers like that. So I always look for a way to get us at plus money and to find value on these really heavy money line favorites that I actually like. I don't always like a team just because they're favored, you know, minus 300. But I do like Napoli in this spot. Napoli are playing at home. They're coming up against a lesser side in Sassuolo with their best player out. I think that Napoli do win this match. I don't think there's a better informed striker on the planet right now that fits his role and his specific team than Victor Osimhen. So I do think Victor Osimhen scores. I don't think you could really go wrong here with taking him to score twice. But I'm just going to say that he does score one time and then Napoli just wins this match. And I think getting a minus 300 favorite at home in this situation with Sassuolo and one of the best players right now on the planet to score at plus 110, I think that's absolutely worth a swing for me.
Yes, scored twice last week, Osimhen, in the opening game of the season. Steve, you surprised he's still at Napoli?
Yeah.
I'm pleased he's still at Napoli because, you know, I think it would have been often we see. I mean, when Lille won Liga, their whole team was kind of wrenched apart, and I thought the same might happen with Napoli, but they've managed to keep their big players for now, haven't they? They've lost the manager, obviously, but it looks like Rudy Garcia's come in and done a good job. This is going to be a very popular bet. I mean, again, how is this plus money really? Because I did the maths on this last week. 19 times last season, Napoli won and Osimhen scored. That's half the games.
And I was probably on every single one of them. Yeah.
So
it's like, well, you know, you just have a lot of people that don't throw combos together. So, you know, I'm not laying a minus 190 for anyone to score. I don't care who it is. But yeah, like taking him to score, like I said, if I think there's a chance he can score twice, yeah, they want to give it at plus money. I'll just keep taking it.
Just want to say welcome to everyone in live. Feel free to ask any questions if you want to, and we'll try and get back to you. We've just got the last section to do with anytime scorer suggestions, so get any questions in now if you are watching live. But yeah, this looks a really solid play, to be honest. You know, there's going to be goals in this game. It's probably going to be an over, isn't it? And Napoli probably get 2 or 3 goals. And if they get 2 or 3 goals, Osimhen's almost certainly going to be on one of them.
Yeah. As Ashley said, one of the class acts, if not the class act, is a number 9 in Europe at the minute. Steve, before we go on to the goal scorers, do you just want to plug the premium service a little bit?
Yeah. Thanks to anyone who joined this week. We appreciate you coming on board. $39.99 per month, or you can look at some of our special deals. There will be a new special deal coming in probably at the end of next week. where you'll be able to sign up to the service until the end of December. So, yeah, it seems a bit daft. I don't want to say hold fire, but for those who are value hunting in terms of long term, and take a look out for that. But on the monthly subscription service, I'll put the link on the chat now, and we more than welcome to have anyone new on board.
Yep, winners galore on that service, and we've just given you a taster of what you can expect on that service on this show. Okay, let's round it off with goal scorer picks. As I said last week, we absolutely hammered the life out of these things. Really good prices, really good winners. Steve, you've got a couple for us from Ligue 1, one for Montpellier, and you're going back to a man who did you proud last week. You're on mute, though.
You're muted.
Unmute yourself.
Right, I'm back.
Kept us in suspense. Yeah. Now he's going to give us the 2 picks.
Roma del Castello, again, I'm going to be backing him. He's the top scorer in Liga, or joint top scorer. He looks in brilliant form. He's on penalty duty, and yet his price has gone up this week. He's plus, I think, 5.75 anytime scorer to net against Marseille away from home. And it kind of pains me to say it as a Marseille fan. It's a bit of quite a soft matchup at the minute. It's not that daunting. Marseille are not playing great football right now. No. They're okay. They're okay. They're working. They've got a new manager. I think it's going to take some time to implement his systems. So Brest have actually won their last 2 trips to Marseille as well. And this is not going to be an easy game for Marseille. And I think Brest can certainly get on the score sheet. If they're going to score goals, then Del Castello, why not him again at plus 5.75? Stupid price, should have come in. So we'll keep riding him. And the second pick is a Montpellier striker, Akor Adams. He transferred him from Lillestrøm in Norway. I mean, we were backing him for fun, weren't we, Ashley, up in Norway this year? The difference is now you can get him at you can get him at plus 200 and more each game, but he looks razor sharp. He scored both his first 2, plus 210. It's a mad price against Stade Reims, who they're all right, but they're not amazing defensively. So, I mean, about 6 or 7 now worldwide who are genuinely brilliant number 9s. They don't seem to be able to produce many other positions, but they need a formation that starts like 4 strikers, because you got Osimhen, you got Gift Orban, you've got Akor Adams, a few others as well. That I'm like, wow. But Nigerians know how to produce strikers, and they know how to hit the back of the net.
And hopefully he hits the back of the net at plus 210 for us this weekend. The Marseille issue isn't the manager, Steve, it's the right back. Trust me on that one. The change in right back, that's the difference. Obviously, Issa Kabore gone back to Manchester City, now at Luton Town. When we do this show, Steve sends me through an itinerary with all the bets on it, ready for me to prepare for the show. And when the goal scorers came through, I absolutely loved Ashley's pick, because a Leipzig man who's hit the back of the net 4 times in the last 2 weeks, and you're still getting him at plus 280. It's an absolutely insane price, Ashley. Who is it?
It is absolutely insane, and I think anyone to not, even if you're someone who doesn't like to take scorers, I mean, good Lord, you have to sprinkle this guy, right? He had a hat trick, and then the very next match we were on him in VIP, and it was around the plus 400-ish range, maybe plus 410. To just net a goal on a very good team, right after he hit a hat trick, and he scored, like you said. So he scored in his last couple, and you're not getting quite as much value on him, but my God, at almost plus 300 for a guy that's just playing full of confidence, and they're playing at home, and they're a very good side. I think Leipzig, hopefully can be one of the teams finally to challenge Bayern and make that league a little bit exciting. But I love this team. Getting that guy at close to plus 300 to me is just all kinds of wrong. It's absolutely a value bet that you have to swing with this current form. I would not be surprised at all to see him net here, and maybe even multiple times. So just to get one at like plus 280, that to me, that's just a no-brainer.
Danny Olmo of Leipzig. They're up against Stuttgart this week. Stuttgart did beat Bochum. They beat them well last week. They beat them 5-0, but Bochum missed 2 absolute howling chances in that first half. And if the Spanish forward gets either of those chances, he tucks them in the back of the net. I did look at Olmo's goal scoring record. Absolutely terrible for someone of his class and his status. To score 4 goals in his last 2 games, obviously there's been a shift either in his mentality.
Well, he's replacing Nkunku's role, and Nkunku's goals that he got. Position. I mean, it was insane numbers. I mean, whether or not there's a lot of people were backing Nkunku, top Premier League scorer this year, and then he got an untimely injury. It'd be interesting to see Nkunku go in the new year at Chelsea, or is it just that Red Bull system suits that type of player?
Yeah, that will be interesting. I mean, obviously we've seen that in the Premier League, not working all the time, haven't we? But yeah, Olmo, much more central, much more influential, and banging the goals in, and plus 280. I really think it might be the best bet that we've put up on this show, which says a lot considering I've already put 1 up and I'm about to put 2 more up on this show.
I tell you what, I don't think that you'll get him. The last thing I'll say about that, I don't think that you'll get him anywhere near that price just within the next 2 to 3 weeks alone. So bet it while you can. Agree.
Exactly that. Strike while the iron is hot. Bookmakers will catch up eventually, thankfully for this week. Doesn't look like they have done. Steve, I've got 2 goal scorers coming at you. Big prices here. I'm going back to English League 2 for one of them. Did us well last week, the division, with Joe Taylor. I mentioned how I really rate him down at Colchester. He scored twice against Milton Keynes. I'm now going to the favourites for League 2, Wrexham, who everyone will know all about from their exploits in the conference last season. And I'm going for another former Luton player, Elliot Lee, who's already scored lots of goals. And he's plus 350 to score a goal at Barrow.
What?
Barrow haven't kept a clean sheet this season. Now, they're riding high in the league. They're in the top 7, Barrow. They're a good side, actually, in League 2 level. Not to Wrexham's level, but everyone's raising their game against Wrexham, and that's fine. But Wrexham games are full of goals. I don't expect this one to be any different. But the reason why I like Elliot Lee, in the conference, if you watched Wrexham, Elliot Lee would have played on the left wing. However, they played against Manchester United in a friendly in pre-season, and the Manchester United goalkeeper punctured the lung of the centre-forward, Paul Mullin, in that game. Mullin's out for the foreseeable future. And it's Elliot Lee who's replacing him through the middle. Don't think bookmakers have cottoned on to that yet. Well, they certainly haven't if they're offering plus 350 on a Wrexham centre-forward to score a goal at Barrow. Elliot Lee's on penalties, so if they get a penalty, and dare I say it, English referees are kind of leaning towards Wrexham a little bit at the minute. He'll be on that penalty. If he wants to tuck that away, that'll be happy days. But he's perfectly good at open play. He played for Luton in League 2 and scored a hat load of goals, a real truckload of goals. Hat-trick against Cambridge. So many good goals in that league. He's far too good for that league. Actually, Steve, he came out of Luton in the Championship. He had a season and a half at Luton.
He's
in the
plus
Championship.
350, isn't he? Anytime. This is a big price for someone that's playing up front for Wrexham. Who, I mean, was it 5-5 last week or something stupid?
Yeah, 5-5. Yeah, 97th minute or something crazy.
That's a hockey score, isn't it?
4-1 down at some point as well, weren't they? And Elliot Lee actually scored a couple of goals in that game. So yeah, massive price. Way too good for League 2, as he was the conference last season. And with Paul Mullin out, he is the main man in that side.
What's the latest? Do we know? I mean, you might not know. Paul Mullin. I mean, is it all season he's going to be out? I mean,
no.
No.
They reckon he's going to be back by November. So this is
Punctured
another one.
lung.
Yeah, this is another one. Strike while the
right.
By all
everyone was backing the conference last year. Ashley will know this. Paul Mullin anytime, and the guy at Notts County,
Macaulay Longstaff, who's also still at Notts County, isn't he? Another one who fills his boots. Can't really say much more about Elliot Lee than that. I really think he's a good one to score at Barrow this weekend, and I'm going to throw in a real insane price, plus 1,600 for this one. Diego Carlos at Aston Villa, Steve, to score any time at Burnley. Now, I know a bit about Burnley, having gone toe-to-toe with them a couple of times in the Championship last season. And I've got the views of a couple of people from inside networks that I use. And not everyone rates Burnley as highly as the media do, where I'm based. And I think they could be vulnerable. And one of the reasons why they're not rated here is because they're susceptible to set-piece goals. Man City scored their second goal from a set-piece. And Unai Emery has Aston Villa absolutely pinpoint at set pieces. If you watch the Hibernian game in midweek, I watched it very, very closely. And literally every single first contact from a corner was Diego Carlos. They all went towards his head. None of them went in the goal. The closest he got was the assist for Ollie Watkins, the second goal at the back post. But he's the first person, the focal point. And Burnley do not pick up well at set pieces. Considering they're managed by one of the best defenders who the Premier League has ever seen, they are bad at set pieces. And Villa in Douglas Luiz have one of the better set piece takers in the world. Certainly in the Premier League, but he's very well renowned. The danger actually might be that Douglas Luiz shoots from the corner rather than crosses it, because he's done that a few times last season, hasn't he? But I think he'll aim for Diego Carlos, and he was a towering presence against Hibs. And that Burnley defence is very small. I noticed it last season when they played against Luton, and they actually had Harwood Bellis at the centre of that defence. He's gone back to Manchester City, and I think they've loaned him out to another Championship side this season. They are very, very small. He is very, very tall. It's a mismatch in height, and at plus 1,600, if Villa get a couple of corners, expect Luiz to aim for his head, and if he wants to stick one in the bottom corner, we will be more than happy with that. I think it's a big price. Just for a small bet, if we're only doing stakes and things, just quarter of a unit. Don't go mad on it. But if you want some interest in that Villa-Burnley game, he's your man.
Wow. 16 to 1. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have even looked at that game for anything because I'd not a clue how it's going to end. But that is an interest. I had a similar one with a Rennes goal scorer last season based on the vulnerability of set pieces from the defence. But he's massive. I remember him at Nantes. He played for Nantes for several years, Diego Carlos, and I think he then moved somewhere. Can't remember where. It might have been Italy or Spain. Anyway, yeah, monster of a player. So 16 to 1. We wouldn't mind that sort of winner on this show, would we, Ashley?
Oh, no, that's speaking my language. Yeah, goal scorers and big plus money.
And hopefully he can land. That's Sunday, of course, because Aston Villa were involved in Europe in midweek, although they played Wednesday, so I still don't know quite why they're playing on Sunday. But who cares about the schedule? That's when it is. That's it for this show. So plenty of picks. Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, Norway, Sweden, all across the place. We've got loads of picks. We've got you covered. We had brilliant success last week. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of winners in amongst that lot. Steve, Ashley, thanks very much for your company. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back again. Same time next week. It'll be Thursday again because once again, my beloved Luton are the Friday night game. So we'll go with the Thursday night, and hopefully I'm a happy man having seen Luton win at Stamford Bridge with a barrel load of goals and all of those shots that Steve needs for his bet builder.
Well, we daren't do Friday nights, dare we? Because you might not be quite in the spirits to do the show.
I told you before, it's not the spirits, it's the throat. No guarantee I can bring you a voice. If you saw our manager his interview on Match of the Day 2 weeks ago, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But yeah, until next week, hopefully we've hit you loads of winners. Sign up to that premium service. You'll get even more winners on there. And we'll see you next Thursday.
Thanks, Kev. Thanks, Ashley. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.